Good evening, my dear student. You all warmly welcome for the third part of industrial psychology. From part one and part two, we have discussed what is meant by industrial psychology, as well as we have tried to understand the nature of the relationship between employer and employee after the Industrial Revolution. Then after we try to explain the work of industrial psychologist, and finally we will be try to explain the various important concepts which are really make a very big impact in industrial psychology domain. So today will be discussed, today will be covered the last two learning objective, that means to explain the various concepts of industrial psychology. And finally, we'll be discussing the significance of industrial psychology for today's business organization. So initially, we have identified that industrial psychology is a scientific study of the workplace and organization. Basically, we try to scientifically study we try to study the cognitive processes as well as the behavior of the employees in the work context. At the same time, we try to apply the psychological principles and concept to sort out employee problems to achieve organization goals and objectives, because we have realized that there are so many problems encountering by the workers during their work life. So therefore, from industrial psychology, we try to apply the psychological concept and principles to sort out those issues while scientifically studying the cognitive processes and human behavior in the work context. And the final objective is to achieve organization goals and objective effectively. So in most of the books, it has stated like work psychology, but today we are introducing this industrial psychology as industrial organizational psychology. Okay, so therefore, I'll be discussing why it's in industrial psychology, why we are introducing it like that. Anyhow, wait 1 second. Okay. Then later on, we try to understand the important employee sectors that industrial psychology focus on: the employee performance, satisfaction, safety, success, etc. Then we defined industrial psychology. Then after we explain the nature of the industries during the after World War II, and that means during the Industrial Revolution period. Actually, there was no subject called industrial psychology in the world like before Industrial Revolution. But anyhow, this important subject has emerged after the Industrial Revolution, because there was a very hostile relationship between employer and employee. So therefore, getting work done through people is really hard. They have realized that the owners of those factories have realized it's really hard to getting work done through people. So therefore, they try to find out the most effective way to get the work done through people. So therefore, finally, most different psychologists have proposed the secret of getting work done through people is to touching their soft side of the people. That means we have to understand their emotions, we have to understand their cognitive processes, we have to understand their rational thinking, problem solving skills. Likewise, it's really these psychologists have presented, like Mary Parker Follett, Frank and Lillian Gilbert, that kind of scholars have proposed. We have to be very sympathetic and empathetic to our employees to get the work done through them. So therefore, they said there should be a very nice relationship between employer and employee. So therefore, they have highlighted that it's really necessary for organization to make their employee happy. So in order to make these employee happy, definitely we have to understand their cognitive processes and human behavior, because human behavior should be favorable. Otherwise, the organization cannot achieve target as they expected. So therefore, several psychologists have proposed different concepts. I have explained the contribution of Edward W. Taylor, then Henry Gant, and Frank and Lillian Gilbert, then under administrative management, Henry Fayol contribution, and Max Weber's contribution. Then Mary Parker Follett contribution, Chester Bernard's contribution. Then, like under behavioral school, finally, the owners of these factories came to the conclusion that organization is all about people. Because initially, like after World War II, after the Industrial Revolution, most of the factory owners thought that organization is all about profit. But they have realized when these employees become skilled, and they have realized that organization is all about people. There is no organization without people. So therefore, understanding their cognitive processes, understanding their behavior, and sort out or find out solution for the problem is somewhat very important. It was highlighted. Okay. Then after then after when they realize that organization is all about people, then they have started to search about people more and more. Okay, then Have-Thrown experiment I have explained in part 2. Please refer it. Have-Thrown experiment, the final conclusion was that empathetic supervision, when employees feel that their supervisors are really supporting or motivating them to work well, they will give their level best without thinking about other work conditions or other challenges. Okay, so therefore understanding people in the work context is really important, and appreciate and understanding their needs and wants and make them happy is really important factor in the workplace. So therefore this Have-Thrown experiment is a great evidence for that. Like it nicely explained that sympathetic supervision is really matter for the employee performance. Okay, then after what I have discussed with you, my dear student, later on, then after I explain this Have-Thrown experiment, and then human relations movements, this is like, then after we have realized that human relations movement have explained that human beings are, and their drives are essential, because we have to understand the needs and wants of people. We cannot make employee happy unless we understand their needs and wants. So therefore, the owners of these factories have realized the importance of satisfying the needs and wants of the employees within the work context. So therefore, taking that point into account, that Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, which nicely explained the 5 important needs of a human being, and it's like a motivational process. It's a motivation theory, because basically that theory has highlighted that when organization take necessary action to satisfy the needs of their workers, like starting from physiological needs, safety needs, belonging needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs, automatically employees will be motivated and they will decided to give their level best. Okay, so therefore, this Maslow's hierarchy of need theory is somewhat a very important theory in industrial psychology, because basically in industrial psychology we try to make employee happy, as well as we try to get the maximum from employee while making them happy, for what? To achieve organization goals and objectives. So therefore, this Maslow's hierarchy of need theory nicely explained that these needs is like an hierarchy from bottom to up, like physiological needs, like the basic needs, like food, water, shelter, as well as warmth, water, rest. Those are really important, essential requirement needs of people. So if unless organization is not take necessary action to satisfy these physiological needs, at least then employee will not give their level best. Then after safety needs like job security, then safety equipments and other necessary things should be provided. Then love needs. Loving needs meet immediate relationship, friendship, because we organization should create platform for workers to get together and to have some kind of friendships during their work time. So that's why organizations are taking a necessary action to give lunch break at one time for all the employees. Then they can meet other department guys, friends, and have a nice chat, and then after they can return their work again. Okay, that's why organizations are organizing different kind of festivals, get-togethers, um, etc., to provide a platform for employees to satisfy their love needs. Then esteem need is somewhat, it's really important for the executive level people. Like they are when people come to like managerial position, they will never that mean already their love needs, safety needs, and physiological needs are satisfied. Now they are highly focused on prestige, feeling of accomplishment, appreciation. So therefore, as an organization, for managers, for executive level employees, we should provide required prestige appreciation, like giving the token of appreciation, rewards, certificates, etc. That is their need. Okay. And the last need, according to Maslow's hierarchy of need, there is self-actualization need, like it's like self-fulfillment need, like it's like perfect, to be a perfect person, what kind of needs we have to satisfy. So achieving one's full potential, including creative activity. So basically, we can like employees who have already come to the retirement age, we can give some kind of challengeable projects for them to like head of the project. So that is their need. So that is because they want to reach their full potential. They like for independence. They like for creativity. So likewise, in order to satisfy that kind of needs, we should give, organization should give that kind of opportunities for their senior guys, who like example for guys who came for the retirement age. So likewise, industrial psychology is taking the advantages of this Maslow's hierarchy of need theory for what? For understanding the needs of the employee and make them happy. For what? To mitigate or to reduce unnecessary work employee problems, and finally help organization to achieve organization goals and objective. Okay, so likewise we have discussed that point as well. So basically the difference between industrial psychology and industrial organization psychology, many books have initially this industrial psychology was emerged as like work psychology, but now we introduce this subject as industrial organization psychology. So the difference between these two is like in industrial organize. Let's see how this shift has already taken place. So industrial mean like addressing workers' work behavior, attitude personally. Okay. So when we focus on the word for industrial, it means that we try to address employee work behavior and their attitudes personally, individually. But since group behavior, but we know in an organization context, my dear student, but let's say if industrial psychology, it focuses on employee behavior, attitude as an individual person. But we know exactly in an organization, people are not working as an individual. They work as group. But during the Industrial Revolution, after World War II, people were worked as an individual person. That means individualization was there. If they work, they will entitle for salary. But now we have realized because of synergy effect. You don't know whether you have heard about synergy effect. Please search that word from internet. SYNERGY, synergy effect. Because of this synergy effect, now organizations have realized like 1 + 1 more than 2. තනිතනියම එක්කෙනෙක් වැඩ කරනකොට දෙන්නෙක් එකතු වෙලා වැඩ කරද්දී ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඵලය විශාලයි කියලා. තනියම එක්කෙනෙක් යුනිට්ස් 10ක් හදනකොට දෙන්නෙක් එකතු වෙලා හදද්දී 20ට වඩා හදන්න පුළුවන් කියන කාරණාව. So therefore, because of this synergy effect, most of the organization have encouraged group behavior, group performance. So therefore, now no more valid this industrial word. Why? Because in an organization context, now we are not going to address workers' behavior and attitudes individually. So therefore, since group behavior exists in the workplace because of the synergy effect, they have realized that work as a group will produce more units than an individual productivity. A common approach is to study individual work behavior as a group and address employee attitude. So therefore, what has this book says like individual behavior for industrial, but organizational mean we try to addressing employees, all employees' work behavior and attitudes as a group. So therefore, basically, what was happened? So finally, we came to the conclusion that industrial organization cycle. It does not mean like there is no industrial part. There are both industrial and organization. Why? Because there are some instances where we individually focus on work behavior in an organization context, as well as organizational. When we insert the organizational, we try to understand the work behavior as a group as well. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රියල් කියන වචන ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නේ එක පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ වැඩ චර්යාව අධ්‍යයනය කිරීම. හැබැයි organizational කියලා ගත්තම අපි එතනදී කරන්නේ පුද්ගලයන් සමූහයකගේ වැඩ චර්යාව අධ්‍යයනය කිරීම කියන කාරණාව. අපි වැඩ පරිසරයක් තුළ තනි පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ චර්යාව අධ්‍යයනය කරනවා. එයාගේ මනෝජානමය අපි යාගේ කියන්නේ ප්‍රජානනික කාරණා අධ්‍යයනය කරනවා. ඒ වගේම කණ්ඩායමක් විදිහට වැඩ කරන නිසා කණ්ඩායම ප්‍රජානනික කාර්යයන් සහ චර්යාව අධ්‍යයනය කරනවා. ඒතර මේ කාරණා industrial organizational කියන දෙකම, because from individual perspective as well as from group perspective, since both are happening in the work context, now we have introduced it as industrial organizational psychology. So basically we can tell like industrial organization psychology is all about like studying the work behavior from individual perspective as well as organizational perspective. So that's why it was shifted from industrial psychology to industrial organizational psychology. So now let's try to understand these industrial psychology concepts, which are very, very important concepts. So basically, I have told you like industrial psychologist is a person who investigate about the cognitive processes and human behavior within the work context, and he is the person who try to apply psychological concept and principles to sort out work issues to achieve organization goals and objectives. අපි කියන්නේ කර්මාන්ත මනෝවිද්‍යාඥයෙක් කියලා කියන්නේ පෞද්ගලික එළඹුම කියන තනි පුද්ගලයන්ගේ සහ කණ්ඩායමකගේ ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයන් හා චර්යාවන් අධ්‍යයනය කරලා ඒ අධ්‍යයනය කරලා ඊට පස්සේ අපි කියන මනෝවිද්‍යාවේ සංකල්ප සහ මූලධර්මයන් භාවිතා කරලා ඒ සේවකයන්ගේ ගැටලු විසඳලා අවසානයේදී ආයතනයේ අරමුණු වලට යන්න උදව් කරන පුද්ගලයෙක්. So industrial psychology concept, like there are many more concepts, but basically there are some concepts will be studied. Since time is a limiting factor, we'll be discussing only 6 important concepts. So like the first one is job analysis. When we talk about job analysis, simply the meaning of job analysis, it gather information about the job. රැකියා විශ්ලේෂණය කියලා අපි ඒක දිගනේ රැකියාවක් කිරීමට අවශ්‍ය තොරතුරු එක්රැස් කිරීම. So actually there are 2 methods of job analysis. Actually not 2 methods, like there are 2 parts of job analysis. 2 methods we can do. So simply there are 2 important components of job analysis. Okay, there are 2 not methods. You can write down 2 components of job analysis. Or 2 ways. Likewise, basically this job analysis can be done like task-centric and work-centric. Okay, when we talk about task-centric job analysis, අපි කියන සිංහලෙන් කාර්ය කේන්ද්‍රීය රැකියා විශ්ලේෂණය. In the task-centric job analysis, we try to list down the task, duties, and responsibilities of the job. So write down in front of task-centric job analysis. List down task, duties, responsibilities of a job. List down task, duties, and responsibilities of the job. But work-centric job analysis, basically we try to list down, write down, we try to list down required knowledge, skills, attitudes to perform the job. So basically from task-centric, we try to list down task, duties, responsibilities. But from work-centric job analysis, we try to list down required minimum knowledge, skills and attitudes to perform the job well. Knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So basically you can write down like task-centric job analysis is the hard part of the job. Hard, H-A-R-D. You can write down, it's like under task-centric job analysis, it's a hard part of the job. And work-centric job analysis, it is a soft side of the job. So basically what industrial psychologists do is when the job is determined, like let's say human resource manager position, when the job has been designed, this industrial psychologist will decide the task, duties, and responsibilities for that position. And will be decided the required minimum knowledge, skills, attitudes to perform the job well. Because industrial psychologists know, and initially he or she will be clearly study the job position and try to understand what kind of cognitive processes required to perform the job well. So basically like work-centric job analysis, it really involved with the cognitive processes. But task-centric job analysis is basically involved with the certain behavior. Okay, task-centric කියන එකේදී අපි කියන්නේ කාර්ය කේන්ද්‍රිකයේදී පුතේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ චර්යාව සැබඳි වෙනවා. work-centric එකේදී ගොඩක් වෙලාවට පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයන් සැබඳි වෙනවා. ඒතර රැකියාවකට අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයන් සහ චර්යාවන් තීරණය කිරීමක් වෙන්නේ. So I'll explain these two, taking my job position. So I'm a lecturer. So basically there are three main duties what I have to perform in my capacity. Okay, as a lecturer, there are three duties I have to perform. First one is conducting lectures. Second one is making and marking answer script. First one is conducting lectures. Second one is making and marking answer script. Third one is doing research. These are the main three duties that I have to perform as a lecturer. Okay, so therefore, industrial psychologists, since they have very good understanding about the cognitive processes and the behavior of the people, so they are working while we are teaching around the university, and they will decide the task, duties, and responsibilities very clearly. So I have listed three duties of mine: conducting lectures, making and masking answer script, and third one is doing research. Okay, so when these three are happening, when these three duties are listed, so for each duty, there are several responsibilities are emerged. So duties creates responsibilities. Like let's say when I am conducting my lectures, I have several duties, several responsibilities. Okay, let's say my first duty is conducting lectures. Let's see what is my responsibility here. My responsibility is to doing lectures on time or start lecture on time. Lecture velawata patan ganima. Not cancel the lectures. Lectures cancel no kirima. Velawata patan ganima and conclude the lectures on time. Velawata lecture avasan kirima. Not only that, if postpone the lecture, it should be informed to the students in prior manner. Because of the unavoidable reason, if I want to postpone a lecture, I should inform to the students like before 2 or 3 days or 1 day. Otherwise, it's not an emergency case. I have to inform. It's an ethical behavior which I should demonstrate. Okay, එතකොට මගේ ඩියුටි එක තමයි ලෙක්චර්ස් කිරීම. ඒ හරහා මට වගකීම් රාශියක් පැවරෙනවා. වෙලාවට ලෙක්චර්ස් පටන් ගන්නවා. වෙලාවකට ඉවර කරන්න ඕනේ. ලෙක්චර්ස් කැන්සල් කරන්න බෑ. ලෙක්චර්ස් පෝස්ට්පෝන් කරනවා. ළමයින්ට කලින් කියන්න ඕනේ. And the task is like task means many things what I have to perform during my duty. So when I'm conducting lectures, my first task is to explain the concept very clearly. දේවල් හොඳට පැහැදිලිව කියා දෙන එක. Writing on the whiteboard. And when students are asking questions, I have to answer those questions in a very positive manner, polite manner. Amik ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහම හරිම වැදගත් විදිහට උත්තර දෙන්න. තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. පස්සේ කියලා දෙන්නම් පුතේ කියලා කියන තරම් නිහතමානී වෙන්න. white board එකේ ලියන්න, පන්තිය පුරා ඇවිදින්න. Those are tasks that I have to perform during my duty. So duty creates responsibilities, duty creates tasks. Okay, so all these things are deciding industrial psychologists because they have very nice idea about the cognitive processes and the required behavior of this job position called lecture. Then the work-centric job analysis means they will decide the required minimum knowledge to be a lecturer. So initially they have said in order to be a lecturer in the university, you have to earn a degree in the relevant field, like it's like from a state university. In order to be a lecturer, first you have to earn the degree from a state university in the relevant field. So if I want to become a lecturer in the Department of Human Resource Management, what I have to do is I have to earn human resource management degree from a state university. From a state university. It's a minimum knowledge what I require. Then my attitudes, I should have very positive attitudes towards my students, towards the research culture, research environment, towards the other colleagues of my university, like towards the state university system, likewise. Attitudes. Then knowledge, skills. Then skills, especially when I was, I can remember when I was sat for the interview, when I was faced my interview with the Vice Chancellor of University of California, initially what they told me is to do a lecture, like small presentation, conducting a small presentation, like 10 minutes. Okay, this 10 minutes presentation I have conducted for what? They have evaluated me, my teaching skills, my communication skills, my problem solving skills, and my analytical skills, likewise different things they have questioned from me time to time. Okay, so therefore, industrial psychologist will decide what kind of knowledge, minimum knowledge, skills, attitudes required to perform the job. Okay, as well as basically this industrial psychologist collect job analytic data. Okay, write down industrial psychologist collect job analytic data. Within bracket, you can write down task, duties, responsibilities, required minimum knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So industrial psychologists decide what kind of knowledge, skills, attitudes required. Why? Because they are really very key. They are really talented on these cognitive processes and human behavior. They know what kind of behavior should be demonstrated from this position. Okay. Then let's move to the second important this job analysis information, like we have designed nicely listed the task, duties, and responsibilities, knowledge, skills, and attitudes of a job. Then these job analysis information are really important for other HR functions in an organization. Please do remember, my dear student, doing job analysis is somewhat very, very important. So this job analysis information is really important for employee selection process, for employee performance appraisal, for like designing training programs, for designing let's say development program, etc. So I'll be teaching. So to designing employee motivation program, I'll be discussing how these job analysis information can be used when we are discussing the other part of other concept. Then the second important concept what we are going to highlight is the employee recruitment and selection. Employee recruitment and selection, the single term is sevakyo badawa ganima ha tora ganima. Actually, there is a nice difference between recruitment and selection, my dear student. And I don't know whether you have understood these two concepts separately when you are studying human resource management. I believe that you have studied about human resource management already. If not, Employee recruitment is, my dear student, employee recruitment is attracting potential applicant for the job position. Write down recruitment and write down attracting potential applicants, attracting potential applicants to the job position. විභවතාවයේ ඇති සේවකීන් පුරප්පාඩුවට ආකර්ෂණය කර ගැනීම. So you know, for just let's keep that employee selection aside. Like employee recruitment is attracting potential applicant for the job position. So if it is do so, my dear student, when actually we know for recruiting for attracting potential applicant for a job position, definitely we have to create job advertisement. So this job advertisement is created by industrial psychologists. So when they are designing this job advertisement, definitely they will take the information which they have created at the job analysis stage. එතකොට රැකියා පුරප්පාඩුවකට දැන්වීමක් හදනකොට ඒ දැන්වීම හදන්න ගන්න පුතේ අර රැකියා විශ්ලේෂණය කරද්දී ගත තොරතුරු. මොකක්ද? ඒ රැකියා විශ්ලේෂණය කරද්දී අපි තීරණය කරා task, duties, responsibilities, knowledge, skills and attitudes. So in the job advertisement, they nicely listed what are the tasks, duties and responsibilities should be performed in this job position. And they will, in the job advertisement, they will highlight the required minimum education qualification, attitudes and skills required to perform that job well. So please do remember that these task, duties, responsibilities, knowledge, skills and attitudes have been decided by industrial psychologists at the job analysis stage. Even though it was created at job analysis stage, but for recruitment purposes, they will take that information for what? To designing the job advertisement. Okay, they believe when we are highlighting the minimum knowledge, minimum education qualification, then nobody will apply who have low qualification than that. If the particular student earn a degree from non-state university, then they will not apply for the post, because specifically they have stated you order to be a lecturer in the state university, like let's say XYZ university, you are required to earn a degree in the relevant field, from a state university. So likewise, this job advertisement information will be taken from job analysis stage and created. So creating this job advertisement also will be done by industrial psychologists. Then the second one is, I said, what are the function of employee recruitment? Answer is to attracting potential applicants. Attracting potential applicants, not attracting potential employees. Still they are not employees, still they are applicants. What is employee selection? Employee selection is select the best applicant as an employee. Write down what is employee selection. Select the best applicants as employees for the organization. As employees for the organization. අයදුම්කරුවන් අතරින් සේවකයන් ලෙස තෝරා ගන්න අය තමයි හොඳම අය. So what are the functions involved in selecting employees? So actually there are several, we know that employee selection is not an easy task. So therefore we have to select employee in a very systematic manner. Okay, write down a subtopic called employee selection. Write down employee selection. For employee selection, industrial psychologists should complete several stages. First one, several stages. First one, calling applications. Calling applications. Like within bracket. Calling applications. Then within bracket write down create or design CV. design the structure of the CV. Design the structure of the CV. We have seen for some job portion, there are like predetermined structure for the job CV. So the structure of the CV will be decided by the industrial psychologist. So you cannot send your own CV in your own way. There is a structure, so you have to fill the provided columns for the job portion. So therefore, the structure of the CV will be created by industrial psychology. Second one is conducting test. Conducting test. Within bracket, ability test, comma, personality test, comma, knowledge test, etc. Close the bracket. Then calling application, conducting a test. Then third one is conducting interviews. Interviews. Within bracket, write down questions are designed. Questions which can be used. Questions which can be used during the interview process. Questions which can be used for the interview process. Questions which can be used for the interview process will be decided by the industrial psychologist. Will be decided by the industrial psychologist. Then background investigation. Background investigation. So, example, they will ask to bring police report to ensure that the particular applicant is not commit any other criminal cases. Okay. Background investigation. Then select the employee. Select the employee who have already passed all these stages. So all these processes like calling for application, or that means designing the structure of the CV, then conducting tests, conducting interviews, conducting background investigations, all will be done by industrial psychologists, because now they have been expert in the cognitive processes and the required behavior of the worker. So you may wonder, then what is the role of human resource manager if all these tasks will be performed by industrial psychologists? Unfortunately, in a country like Sri Lanka, my dear student, there is no job position called industrial psychologist. But I have read some books that they have highlighted for every human resource manager should be an industrial psychologist. It is a must requirement. Okay. Then, what are the functions involved? Let's say, so therefore, every human resource manager should be an industrial psychologist. That knowledge is really important. That knowledge is really important. So therefore, now in current organization, I am really wonder whether all human resource managers are really knowledgeable about this nice domain. So therefore, industrial psychology is somewhat a very, very important subject as an individual, as human resource manager should learn. So therefore, in human resource management, in our degree in our University of Carolina, we are offering this subject, industrial psychology, as a separate subject in third year. Because we have realized the importance of this subject, since for HRM degree, the industrial psychology is somewhat a very, very important subject, which should be focused on. Then I have explained what are the functions involved in selecting employee, calling for application, like creating the structure of the CV, conducting test. For test, question also prepared by industrial psychologists. For interviews, question also prepared by them. So background investigation will be done by them. So therefore, what are the function like calling for application, conducting test, conducting interviews, conducting background investigation. Those are the function involved in selecting employees. So all these things will be performed by industrial psychologist. Okay. So when we talk about the contribution of industrial psychology to employee recruitment and selection, so therefore they are the people who determine the validity of employee selection test across different standards. Because so industrial psychologists are the people who sat in the interview board, who create questions for the test, who who conduct background investigation about people, who conduct the structure of the CV, etc. Then next important concept is performance management. Performance management, like about performance management, like it measure the behavior and the result of a person. Like simply, we know performance management is performance appraisal is, so once the employee has been selected for an organization, we provide a reasonable time for him to perform. I'm not going to give all these functions to write all these functions because there is a separate course in your degree program called human resource management. So you will be learn performance, what is performance management, what is performance appraisal in that due course, in that course. I just want to convey the meaning of this concept. Like performance management is like so how the performance appraisal will be conducted. So like once the employee has been selected for a job position, then we'll be appoint that employee. We will give a reasonable time for employee to perform after providing the training. Sometimes organizations are providing on the job training when the job has been started. Then while after completing on the job training, after like certain period of time, like after 6 months period, the performance will be evaluated. Then after performance appraisal, if the employee is up to the quality, up to the standard, then he will be appreciated and give rewards. If the particular employee is down the required standard, what organization is doing is not to fire them, but to provide training, required training for those employees who are under the standard. Okay. So if the employees perform well, will be rewarded. If the employee is underperformance, then he or she will be sent for the required training. So what is the role of industrial psychology in performance management? Please understand, my dear student. So industrial psychologists are the people who will be decided the performance criteria in the performance appraisal process. එකන අපි කෙනෙක් පුතේ කෙනෙක්ගේ කාර්ය සාධනය තීරණය කරන නිර්ණායක. දැන් හිතන්න උදාහරණයක් විදිහට මගේ රැකියාවේ කතිකාචාර්යවරියක් විදිහට ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ කතිකාචාර්ය ධුරයේදී ලෙක්චර්ස් කීයක් එක සෙමෙස්ටර් එකකදී කරලා තියෙනවා. ලෙක්චර්ස් කීයක් කැන්සල් කරලා තියෙනවද? ලෙක්චර්ස් කීයක් පෝස්ට්පෝන් කරලා තියෙනවද? ඒ වගේම ළමයින්ගෙන් කීයක් ස්ටුඩන්ට් කම්ප්ලේන්ට්ස් ලිස්ට් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවද? ඔය වගේ likewise in order to evaluate the performance of the lecturer, we will be created a criteria. Like let's say bank එක වුණත් අපි හිතමු බැංකුවේ ඉන්න අර සල්ලි ගන්න ටෙලර් එකේ ඉන්නවා කියලා. එතකොට සල්ලි ගන්න කැෂියර් එකේ ඉන්න ළමයෙකුට එයා කොච්චර වැරදි කරලා තියෙනවද? සල්ලි අඩුපාඩු කරලා තියෙනවද? එයාට කස්ටමර් කම්ප්ලේන්ට් කීයක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවද? එයා හිමින් වැඩ කරන්න කියලා. එයා ඩොකියුමන්ට්ස් කීයක් වරද්දලා තියෙනවද? සිස්ටම් එකට වැරදි data කීයක් feed කරලා තියෙනවද? එයාදී වශයෙන් will be create different criteria to evaluate the performance. So industrial psychologists are the people who will be decide these performance criteria. They are the people who decide these performance criteria. As well as not only that, deciding the performance criteria plus rating scale. Rating scale also will be done by themselves. Basically, in performance management, what industrial psychologists do frequently is they are the people who decide the performance criteria, plus they are the people who decide the rating scale. Rate කරන්න පුළුවන්. 1 2 3 4 කියලා rate කරන්න පුළුවන්. If the particular employee perform well, then rate 4. If the particular employee perform in a very poor manner, then rate 1. So these rating scale and the performance criteria will be decided by industrial psychologists, because since they have very good idea about the performance evaluation, since they are the people who design the job very well, since they are the people who involved with the employee recruitment and selection process, they know the required standard of the particular employee. Based on these important facts, they will be decide the performance appraisal. One more thing, what I want to add, my dear student, for the performance management also, they required job analysis information. Okay, they will take into account the task, duties, and responsibilities, and knowledge, skills, and attitudes when they are designing the criteria. Okay, like let's say my main 3 duties is like conducting lectures. So considering that duty, they will create different criteria, like number of lectures, how many number of lectures she has been conducted, number of lectures she has been cancelled, number of lectures she has been postponed. Likewise, for each duty, we can create different criteria. So all these things will be created by industrial psychology. Okay, so that's why I have told you, in a human resource HR department, every HR manager should be an industrial psychologist. They should have a very good idea about the cognitive process, required cognitive processes, and the required behavior of the different job position. මානව සම්පත් කළමනාකරුවෙකුට පුතේ අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා යම්කිසි රැකියාවකට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන අපි කියන ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයන් සහ චර්යාවන් සියල්ලක්ම ඒ අවබෝධය හොඳට තියෙන්න ඕනේ මොන මේ රැකියාව සම්බන්ධීව අවශ්‍ය වෙන චර්යාව සහ ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයන් මොනවාද ඒවා කන්සිඩර් කරලා තමයි රැකියාව විශ්ලේෂණය කරන්නේ ඒ රැකියාව විශ්ලේෂණය හරහා තමයි සේවකයන් recruitment selection කරන්නේ performance evaluation කරන්නේ so likewise that kind things can be fine. Later on, once the performance appraisal has been done, if the particular employee is down to the standard, then industrial psychologist will prescribe the required training for the employees. So we have to send this employee for this training, for that training, because they are underperformers. They are not perform as expected by the organization. So required training also will be prescribed by industrial psychology based on the performance appraisal. Okay, so therefore, let's look at what is performance appraisal. It measures the behavior and the result of a person of works. These results are related to employee compensation and performance management. So I told you, if the particular employee perform well, she will be rewarded. Job functionaries use job analysis information for what? To determine dimension. Like simply job, like in here job, please cut this word and write down industrial psychologist. Use job please replace for this word industrial psychologist. Use job analysis information for what? To determine dimensions. To determine dimension means you can write down performance criteria. You can write down in here performance criteria. Performance, cut this dimension, write down performance criteria. And rates, rating scales. Rates mean rating scales are created for all functionaries, for all tasks, for all duties of the job. Let's write down functionaries mean all duties of the job for performance level. So basically in performance management concept, industrial psychologists are the people who decide the performance criteria, and then they are the people who decide the rating scales. And based on that, they will prescribe different kind of required training for their employee. Then the nice one is employee motivation. The fourth concept in industrial psychology is employee motivation. Actually, no need to explain about employee motivation, but right now I'll do a small description since we did not discuss employee motivation yet, because from lesson number 8, we'll be discuss employee motivation in a very detailed manner as a separate topic, because employee motivation has been recognized as a very important cognitive process in psychology. මනෝවිද්‍යාව තුළ වඩා වැදගත් ප්‍රජානික කාර්යයක් විදිහට පුද්ගල අභිප්‍රේරණය හඳුන්වාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා පුතේ කියනවා මේ පුද්ගල අභිප්‍රේරණය කියන එක කතා කරනවා 8 වෙනි පාඩමේ යටතේ, but still we are at the 4th lesson. I'll be tell what is mean by employee motivation. Simply employee motivation is like අපි කියන්නේ employee motivation කියලා is try to set a goal and work hard and continuously work to achieve that intended goal. අපි සේවක අභිප්‍රේරණය කියලා කියන්නේ යම්කිසි අරමුණක් හදලා ඒ අරමුණ නොනවත්වා එක දිගට අරමුණ ඉෂ්ට සිද්ධ වෙනතුරු වැඩ කිරීම කියන කාරණය. So basically from motivation, what we try to do is we try to establish a goal and work hard. Continuously work hard to achieve those goals. So employee motivation is really important for organization success, because we highly know that employees should be energetic and they should continuously do their level best to achieve organization goals and objectives. So therefore, employee motivation is either initiating the work routine. Okay, they are the people. So especially we require the direction for the motivation. Direction, that means purpose should be there. And intensity, how write down the meaning of intensity, meaning how hard a person tries. Write down in front of intensity how hard a person tries to achieve the goal. So therefore direction is required, and working hard to achieve the goal is really important. And determine the time range as well. As well as we have decided how many hours, how many days will be taken to complete this task. So therefore, for employee motivation, when we talk about employee motivation, industrial psychologists should provide a direction for their employees. You are required to complete 1,000 units per day. 1,000 units is the direction, and intensity means you are required to work hardly from 8 to 5. And the determined time range is per day. For one day, you are required to produce 1,000 units. Time range should be provided. As an industrial psychologist, we should provide time range, we should provide direction, we have to provide target. Not only that, we have to explain the required hardness, required dedication to complete the task. And actually, employee motivation vary from one person to another, because we cannot motivate people. External parties cannot motivate people, but they can dig the ground to be motivated, like providing clear direction, like providing clear time range. But employee are the people who should decide to be motivated. That's why I have told you it's an internal process. That's why I have told you it's a cognitive process. පුද්ගල අභිප්‍රේරණය කියන්නේ පුතේ අභ්‍යන්තර ක්‍රියාවලියක්. ප්‍රජානනික කාර්යයක්. හිත තුල ඇතිවන හැඟීමක්. ඒ හැඟීම තව කෙනෙකුට බලෙන් ඇති කරන්න බෑ. That's why it's a cognitive process. So the other party, external party, can dig the ground to be motivated, like providing, as I very correctly said you, by providing a very clear direction, by providing a very clear time range, and decide the required dedication for the certain task. So therefore, industrial psychologists, what they do is they decide they decide the direction, they decide how hardness is required to perform the job, and they decide the required time range to complete the given task. So likewise, then after they will decide what kind of rewards we will be providing if the particular employee achieve their target. Like it can be either monetary or non-monetary rewards. Okay, like when we are referring Maslow's hierarchy of need theory, at this esteem needs, when I was talking about executive level employees, they are really highly appreciate like certificates, token, etc. So if we can give certificates, appreciation for them, like it's a non-monetary reward for them. If it is necessary for their performance, we have to provide. So likewise, industrial psychologists, basically, they decide the direction, they decide the time range, they decide what the required nature of the dedication required to complete the process, as well as they decide the nature of the rewards that they will be provided during the process. So that's why I told you motivation is a psychological process. Underline this psychological process and write down, it's an internal process. It's an internal process. It is inside the human being. It is inside the human being. And write down, we cannot motivate people. We cannot motivate people. But they are the people. But we cannot motivate people. But we can make ground. We can make mean industrial psychologist. We can make, we underline V and write down, industrial psychologist. We can make, underline V and write down, industrial psychologist can make the ground to be motivated. Can make the ground to be motivated. How? Motivated by providing clear direction, nature of the required dedication, explaining the nature of the required dedication, and persistent mean ask them to work continuously to achieve the job. Ask them to work continuously to achieve the target. Ask them to work continuously. So these are the three important components of employee motivation: direction, intensity, and persistent. Direction mean objective, intensity mean how hard he tries, persistent mean continuously work. And beyond that, you can write down the required time range should be provided. So there are three psychological processes, and basically there are four outcomes of this motivation. Basically, directing individual attention and stimulating employee to continue effort and break away from goal-seeking routine and develop strong courage, because we have to provide strong courage, and create task strategies. We have to provide different kind of strategies to do their job easy manner. කෙනෙක්ගේ රස්සාව ඉක්මනට කරන්න පුළුවන් අපිට උපායන් හදන්න පුළුවන්. ඕගලන්ට පුළුවන් ඔයගලන්ගේ අටපහ වැඩ කරනකොට පුංචි මැදදී පොඩි බ්‍රේක් එකක් අරගෙන ඔයගලන්ට පොඩ්ඩක් පොඩි මියුසික් එකකට you can take out your phone and you can listen your own music, and likewise you can create different strategies to make them happy. Since the beginning of industrial psychology, how the system affects occupational behavior and occupational health has been studied. So basically, I don't know whether you can remember when I was discussing industrial, like after World War II, industrial revolution, most of the people have been contracted with occupational diseases because of this high noise of the machines, because of the unsafety environment within the factory premises. So therefore, another very important concept that we have to focus on is occupational stress. So industrial psychology should take necessary action to reduce the occupational stress of the employee during the work hours. We know a person spends at least 8 hours a day. 8 hours are spent unhappily, then remaining 16 hours are spent unhappily. දවසකට පැය 24 එකෙන් පැය 8කුත් හරිම දුකින් ඉන්නවා නම් වැඩ කරන පැයක් දුක වේදනාවෙන් ඉන්නවා නම් ගෙදර ගිහලා ඉතුරු පැය 16ක් රුයින් වෙනවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම. So therefore, in order to protect the quality of these 16 hours, which they will be utilized to stay with their loved ones, with their family members, definitely industrial psychologists should take necessary action to make them happy in the workplace. පැයට සතුටින් මිනිස්සු වැඩ කරලා ගියාම ගෙදර ගිහිල්ලා මිනිස්සු අයගොල්ලන්ගේ ආදරණීයන් එක්ක ඉන්නේ සතුටින්. So therefore, they have understood, industrial psychologists have understood the importance of reducing occupational stress during the work hours. So the next concept, the very next important concept is like, it is the fifth important concept. Write down. Here. Before since, write down. Fifth one is occupational stress. Occupational stress. Before since, write down number 5 and write down occupational stress. So therefore, occupational stress, there are several strains. Stresses cause strain, like behavioral stress. Because when people are stressed from their work, actually the behavioral stress will be emerge, like absenteeism, poor performance, like sometimes late comers, late attendance. You can write down under behavioral stress. Late attendance also a stress. And physical stress mean headache, heart diseases, body aching, etc. ශාරීරිකව දැනෙන පීඩා තමයි පුතේ කායික පීඩා, හිස රදේ, ඇඟේ අමාරුව, හෘද රෝග. Psychological stress තමයි anxiety, කාංසාව, විෂාදය කියන දේවල්. So when people are experiencing stress in their workplaces, they come up with different stresses, like it can be behavioral, physical, and psychological. Behavioral, physical, and psychological. So therefore, industrial psychology should take necessary action to reduce this behavioral stress, physical stress, and psychological stress. මනුස්සයෙක් ශාරීරිකව, චර්යාත්මකව සහ මානසිකව ඇදවැටීමක් ඇති වෙනවා පුතේ රස්සාව සතුටින් කරන්නේ නැත්නම්. So therefore, many more organizations are conducting time to time like employee satisfaction survey to know about the employee stress. That's why time to time, like after every 6 month period, organizations are conducting medical checkups, medical clinics in their organization to to catch up the diseases which are already inside the body. That's why organizations are providing radio stations in the factories. While they are working, they can listen nice music when they are working. That's why organizations are try to create very, like in the environmental psychology we have nicely discussed. That's why organization try to create very green environment, or provide sufficient space, or provide required equipments, tools, and for their employees to make them happy. So basically, they try to create very healthy or a happy environment within the organization context for what to stress, to reduce the stress of the organization. So therefore, industrial psychologists have realized the importance of reducing occupational stress, since it's badly affected human life, either on the road or at their home, at the workplace. So therefore, organizations try to reduce the stress of the employee while they are working, giving different kind of solutions, suggestions time to time. That's why they are providing opportunity for employee to go for picnic, company-sponsored parties, company-sponsored trips, get-togethers, etc. Next one is leadership. So when we talk about leadership, actually, I believe that the 5 concepts what we have discussed is sufficient. So therefore, please skip the leadership. Don't focus on it. I won't give any question on this. Just focus on only the 5 important concepts what we have decided, my dear student. First one is job analysis. That is the first concept. The second one is recruitment and selection. Third one is employee performance appraisal. Fourth one is employee motivation in the workplace and occupational stress. That's sufficient. Please ignore the leadership. I won't discuss that one because it's knowing about 5 is sufficient. So therefore, I'll skip that part. And I think that is the end of the lesson. So leadership will be skipped. Okay. And actually, when we are referring decide, commit, and succeed, mean you are the people who should decide. You are the people who should commit for this lesson. You are the people then finally who can be succeeded. So you are then therefore study well, and so have a pleasant day. And if you have any questions, you can ask when we are discussing exam focus question. Let's try to let's try to see whether we have achieved intended learning outcomes, what we have listed at the initial stage of the lesson. Basically, explain what is industrial psychology. We explain the nature of relationship between employer and employee after industrial revolution. It was nicely discussed. Explain and as well as we discuss about the different scholars' contribution. And we explain the work of an industrial psychologist. Actually, we explain the work of industrial psychologist while we are discussing the concept as well, like job analysis, employee selection and recruitment and selection, performance appraisal, motivation, and occupational stress. We discuss the work of industrial psychologist as well. And we explain the various 5 concepts: job analysis, recruitment and selection, performance appraisal, motivation, and occupational stress. And then discuss the significance of industrial psychology for today's business organization. Actually, since we are not discussing it as a separate topic, because we have realized knowing about cognitive processes and behavior of employee will help them to understand their needs and wants very clearly. Okay, so when we know about the cognitive processes and the behavior of the employees, then we can understand their needs and wants clearly. Then when organization take necessary action to satisfy the needs and wants of the people, they will be happy, and automatically they will give their full support to achieve organization goals and objectives. Again, I will tell you to discuss the significance of industrial psychology, because industrial psychologists have nicely understand the cognitive processes and the behavior required for a certain job category. Then when they know that knowledge, then automatically they know they know what are the needs and wants of their employees, since they know the required behavior and the cognitive processes. So when they know the needs and wants, then organization try to take necessary action to satisfy those needs and wants of the employee. Then eventually they will be happy, and they will give their fullest support to achieve organization goals and objectives. So that's why industrial psychology, from individual perspective, from group perspective, we have to study the work behavior within the organization context. For what? for what? To reduce unnecessary work problems within the organization context. Finally, it will help to achieve organization goals and objectives. So now we are introducing not industrial psychology, it's an industrial organization psychology. I explained how it was shifted from industrial psychology to industrial organizational psychology. So I'll end at this lesson. And I believe the knowledge what I have shared with you is sufficient for this level. And my dear student, please study well. Please listen the recording well and write your own note. Sometimes you may feel that I'm somewhat very fast during the lecture. Since time is a limiting factor, I have to do it, my dear student. But since the recording is available, you can write down, take the printout of this handout and write down what I am delivering in the lecture. So don't based on only the printed letter here. It is not sufficient. It is not sufficient. Most of the thing I deliver during the lecture. So when I am preparing my exam paper, I'm not based on these only printed letters. I will be based on the idea that which are circulated in my mind, which I explain as words during the lecture hours. Okay, so don't believe that I will make question based on the printed letters. No, the idea which is roaming in my mind will take into account while I am preparing my question paper. So the idea, since I have clearly explained my idea during the lecture hours as recording, please listen it properly and write down. It's really needed. So thank you very much for being with me during this 3 hours period. So actually I have cascaded this recording as part 1, part 2, part 3. Please listen 3 recordings. Don't skip anyone. Those are equally important. Those 3 are equally important. And try to write down when you are listening to the recording in your printed document. It is necessary. And I'll be sending the exam focus question. Please try on then. And later on will be discussed those exam focus question. And I'll be discussing them with you. So thank you very much for being with me. Have a nice day and good night. And God bless you, my dear students.